In 1916, the richest man on the planet couldn't make a phone call from one city to another whenever he wanted. John D. Rockefeller, whose fortune would exceed $400 billion in today's money, had no access to antibiotics when he was sick. He couldn't turn on air conditioning in the summer. He couldn't watch a movie at home. And today, a teenager with a cracked iPhone does all of that between classes without even thinking about it. So who is actually richer? This question isn't philosophical. It's the key to understanding how radically the very nature of wealth has changed over the past 100 years. And if you think wealth is just a large number in a bank account, prepare for your idea of value to be turned upside down. Because the history of wealth is the history of how humanity keeps rewriting the rules of a game we all take part in. Let's start with a simple fact. In ancient Rome, salt was more valuable than gold in certain regions. Roman legionaries were paid in salt. That's where the word salary comes from. Think about it. Something that now sits in every kitchen for a few cents once determined who was rich and who wasn't. But this isn't really about salt, it's about scarcity. Wealth has always been tied to what is scarce. What is rare becomes valuable. What is valuable defines status. A Roman patrician who controlled salt mines controlled something essential, preserving food, curing leather, maintaining health. He wasn't rich because he had salt. He was rich because others didn't. Now jump to the Middle Ages. Do you know what marked true wealth among European elites in the 13th century? Not gold, not land. Spices. Black pepper was so valuable it was counted grain by grain and used as currency. In 1381, during the siege of Béziers, the city paid a ransom of 3 pounds of pepper. In 14th century London, 1 pound of nutmeg cost as much as 7 fattened oxen. Why? Because spices traveled from India and Southeast Asia for months across deserts and oceans where half of all caravans never arrived. Risk created rarity. Rarity created price. And price decided who sat at the head of the table. Then came the first crack in the system. In 1498, Vasco da Gama opened the sea route to India. Within 50 years, the price of pepper in Europe dropped eightfold. People who had built fortunes controlling spice trade routes lost everything almost overnight. Venetian merchants, who once dominated Europe, discovered that Portuguese ships could deliver the same goods faster and cheaper. This is the first rule of the evolution of wealth. Technology destroys old value and creates new value, brutally and quickly. By the 17th century, a new status symbol emerged: tulips. This is not a joke. In the Netherlands of 1637, a single bulb of the rare Semper Augustus tulip was worth as much as a canal house in Amsterdam. People mortgaged their homes to buy flower bulbs. This was the first recorded speculative bubble in history, and it revealed something important. Wealth began to detach from reality. A tulip bulb doesn't feed you, it doesn't keep you warm, it doesn't protect you. Its value existed only in people's minds as long as everyone believed in it at the same time. When that belief collapsed in February 1637, millions of guilders vanished like morning fog. People went from wealthy to ruined between breakfast and dinner. The Industrial Revolution of the 18th and 19th centuries did something radical to wealth. It democratized it. For the first time in history, things once available only to kings became accessible to ordinary people. In 1800, a cotton shirt cost the equivalent of 500 hours of labor. By 1900, less than 2. In 1914, Henry Ford began paying workers $5 a day, twice the average wage. Not out of charity, but out of logic. He understood something revolutionary. If your workers can't afford the products they make, you limit your own market. Ford didn't create the middle class out of kindness, he created it out of calculation. By the 1920s, the average American worker could afford a refrigerator, a radio, a car, things their grandparents couldn't even imagine. Wealth stopped being a zero-sum game. The pie started to grow. But the definition of wealth shifted again. Having a car was no longer enough. It mattered which car. Not just a radio, but a better model. This was what sociologist Thorsten Veblen called conspicuous consumption. Wealth became a performance. Now, fast forward to the moment that changed everything. The 1990s. The Internet. For the first time in history, wealth emerged that wasn't tied to land, factories, or even physical goods. In 1995, Pierre Omidyar wrote code for a website where people could sell things to each other. It took a weekend. 3 years later, he sold part of eBay for $700 million. Wealth created from lines of text on a screen. No factories, no inventory, minimal labor. But the real revolution wasn't speed, it was the nature of value itself. Mark Zuckerberg built Facebook in a college dorm. The company produced nothing tangible, yet it was worth $100 billion by 2012. What did Facebook sell? Attention, connections, data. Things that in 1950 weren't considered commodities at all.
Here's where it gets strange. In the 21st century, the most scarce resource isn't oil, not gold, not land. It's human time and attention. Elon Musk and a homeless person both have 24 hours in a day, but the ability to direct millions of other people's time and attention, that's what creates modern wealth. Let's return to Rockefeller. In 1916, he could buy almost any building in New York, but he couldn't cure a simple bacterial infection. His son died from scarlet fever, a disease that today is treated with antibiotics in a matter of days. All his money couldn't buy what is now available to almost anyone. Or consider information. In 1990, finding an answer to a specialized question meant going to a library, searching catalogs, ordering books, and waiting days. Today, you get answers in seconds, lying in bed. Rockefeller never had access to Wikipedia. This reveals a paradox. Monetary wealth and quality of life have diverged. A billionaire in 1920 lived worse than an average person in 2024 in many areas: medicine, information, communication, comfort, entertainment. And yet, inequality today is higher than ever. In 2023, the top 1% of people owned 45% of the world's wealth, more than during the age of 19th century industrial barons. How is this possible? Because modern wealth is exponential. In Rockefeller's era, doubling profits meant doubling oil wells and workers. Growth was linear. Today, a programmer can write an app that reaches 1 billion phones with almost no additional cost. This is called near-zero marginal cost. TikTok didn't build 1 billion screens, it wrote code once. This creates a winner-takes-all effect. Google controls 90% of search, not because it's 10 times better, but because being 5% better in a digital world means owning the entire market. Second place no longer gets 40%, it gets almost nothing. Now comes another shift. A new generation is redefining what it means to be rich. A 2023 Morgan Stanley study found that 68% of millennials and Gen Z define wealth not by money, but by time flexibility and meaningful work. This isn't idealism, it's adaptation. When food is cheap, information is free, and entertainment is abundant, the real scarcity becomes autonomy, purpose, health, and relationships. Look at the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early. People save not to buy yachts, but to buy freedom. Or digital nomads. In 2023, over 35 million people worked remotely while traveling. Earning $3,000 in a month in Thailand or Mexico can feel like earning $10,000 in New York. They chose geography over hierarchy. And now one final disruption looms: artificial intelligence. In the next 10 to 15 years, AI may automate most intellectual labor, from coding to legal analysis, from design to medical diagnostics. This isn't science fiction. GPT-4 already outperforms the majority of humans on professional exams. Two futures emerge. One, wealth concentrates completely. Those who own AI systems replace millions of workers. Profit explodes, but ownership narrows. Two, expertise becomes free. Everyone gains access to world-class intelligence. Barriers collapse. Which future happens is being decided right now in boardrooms and legislatures. One thing history makes clear: wealth has never been fixed. It always reflects what is scarce at a given moment. When food was scarce, land was wealth. When spices were scarce, traders were rich. When production was scarce, factories ruled. When information was scarce, control mattered. When attention is scarce, influence wins. And now we're entering an era where the scarcest things are internal: time, meaning, health, real connection. Silicon Valley billionaires now pay thousands for silent meditation retreats, buying what medieval peasants had by default. They are rich enough to afford being poor by technological standards. So who is truly wealthy? The one with the most money, or the one who controls their time? The one with a yacht, or the one who wakes up without an alarm? This isn't a rhetorical question, because your definition of wealth determines how you live your life, what you chase, what you sacrifice, and when you decide that it is enough. History shows that every generation believes its definition of wealth is permanent. They are always wrong. We are standing at the edge of another redefinition, and the most valuable skill may be the ability to see what will be scarce tomorrow before everyone else is chasing what's scarce today. Maybe real wealth is the flexibility of mind that lets you rewrite the rules before they are rewritten for you.